Good morning, everyone. This is Mihaela with Hey Stella podcast. My episode today is going to be on the most anticipated docuseries on Netflix that just dropped, as they say, on Netflix, and that is Harry and Meghan. Of course, every time I do an episode, I come from the perspective of acting. I come from the perspective of an acting coach. That is my expertise. I do not pretend to know the history of England, but what I can talk about is the first thing that I want to say is that if those two characters, Meghan and Harry, were to perform in the way that they have performed and tell us their fantasies and their scenarios, I would stop them if I was working with them, and I would ask them some questions to try to fill in the gap that they are leaving in the docuseries. And there's a lot of gaps. The show opens with Harry talking about the fact that he wants to do this because he wants to tell the story and what goes behind closed doors that nobody knows. So he's referring to trying to do a private moment. A private moment in public is when you, as the character, are allowing the public to see into glimpses of your humanity which are not always perfect. And here's the big problem. They're portraying themselves, him and Meghan, as if they have no flaws. They have no responsibility for anything that's happened in their lives, and everybody else is to be blamed. Right from the start, there's something wrong with their reality. They're not paying attention to the reality. If you do not start as an actor with the reality of what is, before you allow your imagination to come in, before you allow images to come in, before you allow daydreaming to come in, that means that you are not an actor. And here's my second thing. If anybody keeps associating Meghan with acting and they call her an actress, that is where I have a problem. I am very protective of actors because I know so many of them who are just incredible, brilliant actors struggling to get a job, struggling to get onto a platform half as big as Harry and Meghan's platform, which they stand due to the fact that they are part of the royal family. Harry by blood, Meghan by marrying into this historic family. If I start a show and if I don't acknowledge that to be a fact, everything else that comes after is not going to reveal the truth. As an actor, you have to take in the reality of what is. If they would have said from the very beginning, we are admitting that due to our privilege, that due to our luck to be part of this incredible, old, traditional, historic royal family, we are here today. And we know that if that was not the case, nobody would care to do a Netflix series about us. They don't do that. They talk about their scenarios that they have come up with, that they have embellished, that they have turned around and made them to appear in a sense of what they think will portray them as being the perfect people whom everybody should engage with. They want everybody to go on their side. They want everybody in the audience, the spectators, the viewers who have watched the 3 first episodes, to take them as these perfect people who have done no wrong. If you go back to analyze, is that real? Is that reality? Which we as actors have to do. We are responsible to ask the questions of what is. And when the answers do not match the questions, then you have to ask the question again. There's no producer, there's nobody on the other side to provoke those statements that they make. If I were to be at the actor's studio, for example, as an actress on the stage of the actor's studio, and I know I usually put myself in that situation, and it probably sounds narcissistic, but that's the only way that I can understand viscerally and try to break down and analyze why Harry and Meghan are not credible characters. If I were on the stage of the actor studio and there's a moment that comes to me from my past history of being a lifetime member of the actor studio, when one of the moderators happened to be Estelle Parsons. Estelle Parsons is an actress. She has been acting her entire life. She is moderator at the actor studio for a long time. And I remember in the beginning of my acceptance, after I auditioned and I became a member, I would come on stage every time I got the opportunity to work as an actress on the stage. And I was privileged to be able to work on the stage. And after a couple of times, she would stop me in the middle of the session and she would ask, why are you always coming out on stage and play a victim? No matter how many times I have seen you before doing the work, you always come on as a victim. I'm fed up with you doing that. If you're not going to come and show me something new of yourself, don't waste my time. And of course, it was very difficult to take that note. And it took me, I don't know how many years after, I cried and I was upset and I felt rejected to really understand what she was asking of me. She was asking of me to not just portray those parts of myself that feel comfortable, but she was asking me to dig deeper inside myself to see what else, what other elements I can bring out to portray a specific character, because I was going to the comfort zones. I was going to what my behavior was a habitual behavior. It was a mechanical way of doing things that wasn't revealing anything new about me. Therefore, it wasn't revealing anything new about my character that I was attempting to portray. I felt that the same thing was happening with these two on Netflix. They're saying the same story. They're retelling us the same moment of them being the victims, everybody else around them, beginning with the British population, royal members, to be the villain. They never for 1 second take a step backwards to say at first, before they go into that, they have the right to have those experiences. But before they go into those experiences, they have to take a step backward and they have to admit to themselves that this platform that they have and the fact that Netflix is paying them so many millions of dollars to be able to do this docuseries program is due to the fact that they have this link to the royal family and they have titles such as Duchess and the Duke of Sussex. Because if they did not have these titles, no one would care. Example, Meghan, before she met Harry, which she was hunting for a man, from what I'm finding out, for many years, she was hunting. She was going to England from 2013, wanting to meet a famous English man that she could marry, because she realized very early on that being a so-called actress, the reason why I say a so-called actress when it comes to her is because I do not believe that she ever was an actress. To be an actress takes a lot of work. To be an actress, you have to train. To be an actress, you have to assume responsibility for the flaws that you have, because any character that you are attempting to portray is flawed. If you're not accepting the flaws that you have, how can you portray a flawed character? Which great acting has to do with. The difference between A-listers, A-list actors acting greatly and Meghan Markle is that they understand that. They know that it takes work to first deal with the reality of what is. What is my reality right now? Why am I in the situation that I am in right now? Is it because someone has helped pave a way for me to be here? Is it because I married into the royal family, as she did, and that automatically raised her up to have this platform that she now has? There's no acceptance of any of that. On the contrary, she mocks that. She mocks all the traditions that have to come with the royal family, all the traditions that they have kept for thousands and thousands of years. Therefore, she mocks the traditions of the British people. So that is already a start that's not on the path of truth. And their goal in saying, but not in doing, is that they want to speak their truth. They want to go further than speaking the truth. They want to speak their truth, which would require of them to be much more allowing the cameras to see into those glimpses of who they are that they might not like so much, or they might not feel so proud of, but admitting those flaws and admitting that this platform that they were given to then be able to do the series is due to the royal family and their link to the royal family. So when Harry says in the beginning that Meghan had to give up her world to come into his world, what did she give up? I would ask. I would ask, if she were an actress portraying Meghan, what did you have to sacrifice? Where there's nobody in the docuseries asking her that question. So she can just jump over it, make a statement that's not truthful, and move on to the next scene. At the actor studio, as an actress, I would be stopped and I would be asked, how did I get here? What does having me getting here provide for me for my future? Where were those questions being asked? I didn't hear any of them. When he says that she had to sacrifice everything that she ever knew to be part of his world, I don't know what she had to sacrifice. She had to sacrifice the struggle of trying to be not even an actress, because I don't want the word acting to be associated with her, because she's not an actress. She was more of a B-list celebrity before she met him. I'm not blaming her for not being able to get to the point of the A-listers that she so much wanted, because all of us who have gone through wanting to become actors know that that's what we want to achieve. Every actor that I work with and their goal to become actors is a very difficult path to take. So that's a calling, because if you think about using your rational mind in deciding that that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to give my life over to becoming a great actress, that requires a lot of sacrifice, because it is very difficult, and there's only a few people that will actually end up to making it all the way to the level of Bradley Cooper, whom I went to school with, and who happens to be one of the many 100 people, I think, in our year at the Actor Studio MFA program. And out of all those, he's the one that was able to achieve that A-list movie star. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There's nothing wrong in admitting, the same way that I'm admitting when I came to New York, all I had was, I'm going to become a movie star. For her not to ever talk about that, but to speak about her career as an actress, to have been a successful career, is another untruth. Is not reality. They're not accepting the reality. She managed, no matter how much her father helped her, no matter that the father was already in the entertainment business and she grew up on sets. She even talks about the set Married with Children, the popular show that her father was working on. She had the privilege as a child to be able to go on that set. No matter that she got all this help from her father, she never got to make it as an actress, because acting requires for that person to start from a base which is grounded in reality. And she doesn't have that concept of herself. She has all these imaginary scenarios that she comes up with that will, in her mind, move her story forward in this docuseries, but there are all these gaps that are not being filled. She gave up when joining Prince Harry's world, the struggle to become an actress, probably knowing that after the one show that she got, Suits, that nobody watched before she became the Duchess, she probably was aware somewhere deep in her subconscious or unconscious that she was never going to raise up to the level of the people like George Clooney that she invited to her wedding instead of her family. I was wondering, why doesn't she have those people on the show? Why did she not have those people stand by her story on the Netflix series? Because they do not, I'm assuming, believe the story the same way that I did not believe it watching it as an audience member. Then Harry had to give up everything he knew about his world. So she takes him. She makes Harry abandon his family, turn against his family to join her world in California. The problem with that is the world that he was joining was not Meghan's world, because before she met Harry, she never had that world. She did not have the $1 million house in Montecito. She did not have the platform that she has now due to being his wife. So when he says that he had to give up everything that he knew to move into her world, it wasn't her world. Another untruth, because the world that he moved into, that he calls hers, was a world that was created by him, due to him. The fact that they can afford to have the lifestyle that they have right now is due to the fact that she became the Duchess of Sussex. It was not Meghan before Harry. So the fact that he says that he moved into her world is another imaginary scenario. This world was created by him. This world was created due to the royal family, and now her link to that historical family. You have to accept that. You can't just pretend that your life from an ordinary B-list celebrity going after getting to that level of the Hollywood people that she invited to the wedding without knowing them, or maybe she met them once in her life. That road was going to be a very difficult road. She understood, after having so many rejections, after having tried so hard, doing the Deal or No Deal show, doing other small roles in small movies, that she was never going to get her principal role that she so hoped for. And there's nothing wrong with her wanting that if she only admitted it. Then ordinary people like myself would have appreciated her honesty, because we all know in this field how difficult it is to attain such a goal. Then they would have seem like normal people because they want to portray themselves as normal people, which they're not. And that is the confusion when watching. It's almost like you're watching this Twilight Zone in this docu-series, because they're only revealing private in public moments that they have made up in their minds to try to make themselves look like they are bigger than life characters. And without them, the world is going to disappear. They're putting themselves on a pedestal without having earned getting there. Going back to acting as a character, if I were to get to that level, I again would be stopped, because I would be reminded that I haven't earned getting to the next beat in the life story that I'm trying to tell of the character. They're not being challenged ever. They keep on going with their imagined scenarios as if they were real, when we all know they're not. So the whole time as an audience member, you're watching and you're going, oh my God, this is so crazy. Stop pretending. Stop lying. So many people are still under the impression that acting is lying or acting is pretending. Or if somebody who calls herself an actress can act herself into Prince Harry's life because she's such a good actress. That is not the case. To be a great actress, you have to admit to the truths that are not always glossy, that are not always perfect. And she never does that. So her association with acting by other people has to stop. Acting is about admitting the reality. In the show, she has her baby, Archie. She's holding him. She goes with him to a picture that they have placed on the wall of Princess Diana. And she looks, and then she has this voice always that's melodramatic, the voice that melodramatic soap operas do better than she does. She goes to the picture and she tells Archie, look, there's your grandma, Diana, as if that's something that she was already born with. If you're taking that moment and if you are relating to that woman who happened to be this beautiful princess who was so much bigger than life and who was compassionate, she really cared about doing good in this world. By actions, she proved that, not by statements. If you're going to show your child, look, Archie, that's your grandma, you also have to admit that you cannot believe that you, Meghan Markle, coming from an ordinary, which there's nothing wrong with being ordinary, accepting that, to say, I cannot believe that I'm actually saying to you, Archie, that this amazing, wonderful, incredible, powerful woman is your grandmother. We would have all related to that because she would have admitted that her background had nothing to do with being part of the royal family. We can then understand that her scope to marry into a family such as the royal family was something that she had to build up to. And she obtained that goal. She should have been patting herself on the back and admit to where she started from. In that moment, she goes to show her son the grandmother being Princess Diana, but she does it with such an attitude as if it is nothing, as if she was showing Archie a picture of an ordinary woman and saying, this is your grandma, Archie. That doesn't make any sense. She's not living in reality. She's living in her imagine scenarios that have no base in reality. If your imagined scenarios have no base in reality, then the spectators are smarter than that to feel viscerally, to feel instinctually that something is missing. The next thing, Prince Harry marrying Meghan, she was around the same age that Princess Diana, his mom, passed. And I think that has something to do with the way that they connected. You cannot help as an acting coach or as an actor, but to go into the psychology of characters. I'm analyzing the characters of Harry and Meghan, that part of their backstory, especially the part of the backstory of Harry. He always in the series makes comments about how Meghan is so similar to his mother, Princess Diana. And he says, I am my mother's son. I am my mother's son. That has so much to do with the coming together of the two of them. And you cannot put that to the side as if it doesn't have anything to do with their relation. It has so much to do with the relation of the two characters coming together. And you have to analyze that psychology. Does he feel like finding this woman who reminds him so much of his late mother? Does it give him the opportunity where he feels at some level that maybe he wasn't able to save his mom because he was so small when his mother passed, and that must have been horrible, and nobody's disagreeing with that. It's one of the most traumatic, I can imagine, things that can happen to a small child, to have your mother pass at such an early age. But you cannot deny that in relation to why you're calling your wife to be so similar to your late mother, Princess Diana. They have frames of Diana holding him, and then they jump to frames of Meghan. So they're putting frame of Diana, they're putting a frame of Meghan for Harry to show the similarities between these two women. Why wasn't that talked about? He is talking about how he cares about mental issues and how he wants to help people, and he's so passionate about wanting to do good in that sense, but there's no conversation in depth about the fact that he finds Meghan to be so similar to his mom. I feel kind of sad watching it. He keeps saying, I am my mother's son. Well, you are, but what about your brother? As if you are the only son of Princess Diana. You're going to use footage in your Netflix series that your brother, Prince William, was so upset about the interview that she had done for BBC many years ago when she revealed her truth. She wasn't trying to portray herself as a perfect human being and started blaming everybody else in the royal family to have been the villain. She accepted her flaws. She spoke openly about her challenges that she had. She had the bravery and the courage to go into these issues that she as a human being was feeling, that everybody could relate to. The reason why she was so relatable and the reason why so many people loved her is because she revealed the human challenges that we all have, which these two never do. They've never ever mentioned a situation where they take responsibility for anything that's happened to them. Everybody wanting to destroy them. First of all, why would anybody want to destroy you? Because you're putting yourselves at a level of superiority above everybody else to give the impression that you have such a position in this world. You are the leaders of the world that everybody wants to take down. You're not at that level. I don't think people care as much about you as you two think that they care about, do you know? So again, it's this rejection of what the real truth is. You can't tell your truth without admitting the real truth, the one truth. Very confusing to watch. What was another thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to her and her association with being an actress? I just found out from one of the shows, they were talking about the fact that the late Queen Elizabeth was embracing Meghan when she first started being part of the royal family, when she was introduced to the family. She was very embraced by the British people. She was embraced by the Queen. The Queen was actually fascinated with her being an actress. She even told her that if she wants to continue with her passion, she must go on and continue her work as an actress. And Meghan was the one who said, I don't want to do that. I'm done with that. I want to be part of this. I want to do this. I want to be of service. I want to do what the royal family does, which is to be of service in a different capacity. I don't want to be an actress. The reason she doesn't want to be an actress is because she knew that she wasn't going to have any other opportunities to be an actress, because she, in her mind, somewhere deep inside, I'm sure recognized that she will never have another opportunity to act because she was not an actress. She's never done any training, as far as I know, from the way that she talks about it. There was one point in the series where some friend of hers, some producer friend, I don't know exactly who it was, but she says in the segment, I knew that Meghan, she was never going to be satisfied with just being an actress. If somebody makes a comment like that, that shows me automatically that Meghan and the person who made the comment have no idea what it takes to be an actress. If you're saying she wanted to do so much more, she wanted to volunteer, she wanted to help people, she wasn't satisfied with just being an actress. If you're saying you're not satisfied with just being an actress, that means that you don't know the responsibility that great acting requires. She could have done all the help that she wanted to do if she gave herself the opportunity to go and study acting, to go to admit to herself the truth of her situation, and realize that she has a lot more learning to do to get to the level of the A-listers who are changing audiences through the characters they portray. In order to do so, you have to first admit to all of the things that you might not like about yourself. You cannot do that if you're pretending that you're all perfect and there are no flaws, and everything that you've ever done you've done perfectly, and everybody else around you wanted to destroy you. That scenario will not allow you to move on and become a great actress, because at some point you have to take responsibility for all of the things that you are ashamed of. In the case of Meghan Markle, except the fact that you now are not even considering to have a father, from what Harry says about Meghan's father. She married me and she had a father, and after she married me, she doesn't have a father. The man had a stroke. He's in a hospital. The same man that supposedly helped her through college, paid for her years of college, to give her the opportunities to then catch this one show that she was on, Suits, and then give her the opportunity to travel to England to try to land a man who's famous and who will raise her up to the next level, because she knew that on her own with acting, she was not going to be able to do that. So she was smart enough to know, what do I have to do to elevate myself to the next platform, since acting is not going to be the vehicle that's going to take me there? The next tactic was, let me land a man that's going to have already a platform that I can jump on and not have to be a B-list celebrity, but jump to a principal role in my life story. And I think that's what brought them together. The fact that Meghan was about the same age as Princess Diana, Prince Harry still having the wound of the child, which is so sad, to have his mother passed when he was so young. Him bringing this platform for Meghan that she was craving so much, and she knew that she could not do it on her own through acting, because she was not a great actress. And I think she realized that after having struggled for so many years. Coming together gave them the opportunity that they have now to be the main roles in their stories that they want to tell, which is the story that we are talking about on Netflix. Harry, due to the fact that Prince William was older, was going to become the king. He was going to move on as the principal character in the royal family. Prince Harry knew that he was never going to become that principal character in his traditional historical family. So when Meghan showed up with the same insecurities and with the same goals and objectives to become principal characters, Harry was so ready to jump on the same train that she was on, because somewhere inside he was also feeling like he was playing second role to his brother Prince William. So they found that common ground where they knew that by having this platform and having the royal family as their pedestal to stand on with the Dutch and the Duchess titles, they were both going to be able to have the light shine on them as the principal characters in their story. The only thing is that to sustain that principal role, you must still deal with the reality of who you are to begin with. And you must also deal with all of the facts that I have mentioned and be appreciative of those facts and understand that they made you be at the point in your life right now to be able to have an audience that before you never had, but they're not dealing with that. So again, it's very confusing. It's almost like you're watching a comedy show with sadness. You're watching it because in order to get to the comedy show, the truth has to be revealed even on a deeper level than if you are playing a tragedy, to go even deeper into their truth and their reality of what put them on this platform. It is going to be something they will never be able to accept, because their behavior and the way that they talk about themselves as if they've reached this point in their lives on their own without any help from anybody is from the start a false statement. So how can you go on to speak your truth when you're denying the truth? That makes absolutely no sense to me, and it's very confusing. The awkward moment that became viral and everybody goes to it is when she describes the first meeting that she had with the late Queen Elizabeth, Prince Harry's grandmother. Supposedly, Harry said to her, "Do you know how to curtsy?" And they have a moment in the Netflix series where she reenacts, because she thinks again that she's an actress and she wants to go into the specifics as if she were a great actress, only she doesn't know that she's not. She's pretending that she's not. I'm sure deep down inside she knows that she's not. That's why she took this other way of going about creating this platform for herself by marrying into the royal family, because she knew that she had no other way of moving forward, of getting to the next level in the hierarchy, because they talk about, oh, the monarchy has hierarchy, as if it's news to everybody, like nobody knew that, and Harry was just letting us know that. But I think she was trying to move to the next tier of the hierarchy in her life, and she knew that the only person that was going to provide that for her was going to be a rich man. Good for her. Bravo. For this, I have to applaud you, Meghan Markle. Bravo, Meghan Markle. Bravo. You have been able to obtain that goal, and you should celebrate yourself for doing that and admitting that, which everybody would understand, because it's a huge goal to achieve, and you've done it, and you have to be applauded for that. But when you're not recognizing that to be what it is, that's when the people are starting to watch and say, what are they talking about? So when she explains about the first time that she meets the Queen, and Harry says to her, do you know how to curtsy? Do you know how to curtsy to Queen? And she goes, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean? This is a woman that pretends to be very smart, and she pretends to be very well researched in other cultures and traditions. So for her to be pretending to be this unaware, ignorant about the traditions of the royal family just doesn't make any of us believe everything else she's saying is true, because she's lying so much, so that even if she does tell truth in some of the segments, you don't believe them because there's so many lies that have been said. She doesn't know who Prince Harry is. When she first was helped to meet him on a blind date, and then it wasn't a blind date, it was on Instagram. That story doesn't make any sense because it was told differently before. But she doesn't know how to curtsy. What do you mean I have to curtsy? Like I have to curtsy. And then she sits there while being filmed in this documentary, and because she thinks she's a great actress, she goes to demonstrate how she went in to curtsy in front of the Queen, and she does this grand bowing, and she sits in it for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then she comes up and she goes, nice to meet you, it's a pleasure to meet you, your majesty. I don't know how to do it. I'm just an ignorant girl from California who's a really bad actress, and I don't know how to take a bow because I've never had an experience on a theater stage. I've never had a theatrical experience except the ones in her childhood that they show, but she never understood what it is like to take a bow in a theatrical project. So when people say that she's doing the bow because she's an actress, she's not doing the bow as an actress. She's doing the bow as a mediocre B-list celebrity. Because if she were an actress, she would have had experiences. She would have done off-Broadway shows. She would have done acting. She would have been taking courses in acting, and she would have had the opportunity to learn how to bow, which is not an extreme 3 seconds to 4 seconds bow all the way to the ground. If you watch actors on stage, they don't put their arms out when they bow after finishing a show. They just come on and they bow and they come up. They bow, they come up. So what was so difficult for you, Meghan, to understand about what curtseying is? If you were an actress who had experience taking theatrical bows on the stage because you would have had some projects that you were in and you could have talked about those projects, you would have known what that curtsey is. It's the same thing as a theatrical bow. It doesn't have to be exaggerated. The reason why she goes so deep into it when she is portraying it to us, demonstrating it to us, is because she's doing it from the perspective of a bad actress. No shame in it. Just admit it. You were lucky enough, you knew how to go about Prince Harry to play up all of the common things that you and him supposedly have, with going to Africa because you were doing all this voluntary work, and then you saw the beautiful pictures from Africa that Prince Harry put on his Instagram because you never Googled him. You never want to Google anybody because that's what other people are saying about the person, but you wanted to see his Instagram because that's where the truth lies. Instagram doesn't show the real people. We put things on Instagram that are superficial. So for you to say that you went into his Instagram because that will have told you who he is inside his soul, that makes no sense. Instagram usually is about putting our moments of perfection that don't exist in real life. So if you found Instagram to be the truth and the platform to discover the real Prince Harry, that's one of those things again where you're like, are you kidding me? Seriously, are you kidding me? Do you expect me to believe that? Then they fly to Africa, which is the place that Prince Harry loves, which is wonderful. We see some of the things that he's done there, which is to be admired. Then they go there, and then she talks about, we were just sitting there at night. We heard this elephant rummaging, and she's trying to use her sensory again. There was this elephant rummaging, but she doesn't know how to go far enough. She's afraid to let herself not be the perfect self that she wants to impose on us. But she's trying, but she doesn't know how to do it. She doesn't know how to use sensory work because she never got to understand that that's what acting is about. Acting is about sensory work. So she attempts all these general gestures, the same way that she did with the bowing, with the curtsy, to portray that there was the elephant, and she would have been so scared, and I was scared, and I'm paraphrasing. Then I knew that Prince Harry, I can trust for him to save me. Prince Harry was her savior, and she was his. Great. I was having such a difficult time watching it because it was so boring. The music of the show was so predictable in trying to reveal the villains, the royals, and everybody else. And then when he went to them and their experiences, Harry and Meghan, the music changed to this elevator music that was going to give us the sensation, the impression that they are the good against the evil. That was so cheesy. You put music to a show for the reason of trying to give emotions to the audience. That means the reason why the music is there is because you don't trust the story on its own to have the same effect. at the actor studio, when music is being brought in during a session of work for actors on the stage, they usually will ask you then to turn off the music because it's very disturbing and it takes away from the actor having to allow themselves to work, relying only on the music to give the emotions to the audience. So when you have to add the music to the show in a way that it was added here, so obviously, it's because you don't trust that you have a story that's going to hold the audience attention. It just sounds like the whole relationship is so toxic. It's one of those clingy relationships because they don't feel confident enough to stand on their own. People are saying about the two of them, they're going to get a divorce. I do not believe any of that. They're so dependent on each other and they don't feel at all secure in their own beings to be confident alone. That's never going to change because they don't have anything to sustain that confidence by themselves. They don't have anything. They don't have anything to base their confidence on. Coming together, it gives them, he's going to save me, I'm going to save him. We're saving each other. We're together. So we can have the conversation between ourselves and make each other believe the lies that we're telling. And the other person confirms the lies, and then he goes back and the other person confirms the other person's lies. That's how they can keep on, because they are playing into each other's made up scenarios. They have each other as listeners at the same time that they're trying to portray their story. So they're confident in that creation of these scenarios that are so imagined. They're not even imagined in a way that's specific. If you allow your imagination to be specific enough, but they don't have the tools to manage that, then they would be more convincing and they would make us realize maybe that what they're saying is the truth. But they're doing that so badly that it's so left at a superficial level that nobody's believing what they're saying. The other thing that was so strange, they're in a car in the back seat. They're wanting to portray the fact that they're being followed and there's dangerous scenarios being followed. They're of so importance in this world that everybody cares about taking pictures of them when there's nobody following. There's nobody around. It's as if I was sitting here and I was saying to you all of a sudden, I am such a great actress. And I have paparazzis when I go downstairs to the grocery store. And I have all these paparazzis. And when I went downstairs earlier, before I started doing this episode for Hey Stella podcast, there was a paparazzi. And now, I don't know, there's something outside my door. And I think he came up. Harry, did you see? Did you see that guy? And then he turns around and he goes, where? Is it the same guy? And another thing she says, there was another one in the building when we were coming out to the car. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it. There was another one. There's no paparazzi around. All of the pictures that they used of so-called paparazzis taking pictures of them all the time, trying to put them in dangerous situations, they were now revealed to be pictures of the paparazzis that had to do with A-listers and the premieres of their movies. So she's always in the back of her mind going to feel insufficient because she never made that to that level of her guests that she invited to her wedding. It's so crazy. Oh, another thing, they talk about her half-sister. So this woman comes on, again, they're building their story in a way that's going to put them in a good light, which is they bring in her half-sister's daughter. She wants to reveal to us that everything that's being said about her abandoning her family, which is the truth, she's abandoned her family, no matter how much she wants to turn this around. But she's brought her half-sister's daughter to say that she has a great relationship with her, how important it is for her. And then they talk about the fact that the reason why she didn't invite anybody to the wedding, it wasn't because of her. Again, take responsibility. I did not want anybody at the royal wedding to see the family except for my mom, Doria, who happens to be in the Netflix series. And I feel so sad because you can just see the way that she's trying to play their truth And it just feels so controlled. And I feel like I want to tell her, Doria, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You can be grateful and say how you feel about the wonderful experience that you had at the wedding of your daughter marrying a prince, having Prince Charles at that time, now the King of England, walk you into the church. Your in-laws are the royal family of Britain. It's okay that you can accept that, and it's okay for you to speak about it in a celebratory way. You don't have to play to Meghan and turn all of these experiences to make them seem like everything was negative. It just doesn't come as being truthful. To me, it felt like she was put there and she was so controlled in the way that she was coached to tell this version of the story that even she did not believe. I did not believe that she believed what she was saying when she was giving the interviews. I just felt like, oh my God, let her just jump out of the chair and admit the fact that she's so happy for her daughter to have become part of the royals. Therefore, now she's associated with the royal family. Let her do a dance about it. Jump out, Doria. Be grateful to have the relationship with Prince Harry, with your grandchildren, and to be the grandmother on the side of Meghan, whose grandmother on the side of Harry is Princess Diana. How amazing is that? Why wouldn't you talk about that? Celebratory coming together of your daughter and Prince Harry. I just felt like she wasn't allowed to do that. She was made to tell the story in the same way that Meghan wanted to tell the story, with all the clouds around it. Everything was negative. They're the only ones, and their love story is the only thing that's positive. There were so many moments like that that are so questionable that it's just crazy to think that Netflix, did this docu-series when, if you were anybody else that was not associated with the titles of Duke and Duchess, they would have never had the opportunity to tell this story because it was really mediocre. There's no story. They have nothing that's charismatic. They have no creativity whatsoever to be able to be engaging as individuals, producing all these lies. That's the only story they have. And I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to go on and depend on this story to engage audiences. You got to come up with something new. But in order to come up with something new, you have to admit that what you don't know. And they do not think that they don't know. They think that they know everything, and everybody else doesn't. So going back to that relative of hers, the daughter of Samantha Markle, she was brought onto the series to give the out to Meghan, and for us to believe that everything that's being said about her disowning her family and not wanting anybody to be at the church when the wedding happened, and that she chose the A-listers to be there that she hardly knew over her own members of the family, did not have to do with her decision. It had to do with the decision of what the royals imposed on her or guided them to do, that her niece would be better if she would not be invited because she was the daughter of Samantha Markle, and Samantha Markle was coming out to reveal the lies and to reveal Meghan for the liar that she was. If Meghan is such an activist, and if she's such a revolutionary as she wants us to believe that she is, don't you think that she would have stood up for her niece to say, I thank you so much for your guidance, but no thank you. I'm going to invite her because we have such a great relationship and she's my family. I'm going to stand up for my family. But she didn't do that. Doesn't make any sense. So she's trying to put herself in the good light. And again, because of the gaps in it, nobody's believing it. To go back into people are saying about Meghan Markle that she can make herself cry out of her left eye because she demonstrated some years ago on a thing that she did. She needs 3 seconds to cry out of the left eye. It's not about producing tears. It's not about how long it takes to produce tears. This is what drives me crazy about people who talk about acting as if they know what acting is. That is so wrong. It's not about producing emotions and then questioning if those tears are actually real tears that are falling down your cheek. It's not what it's about. It's about the audience taking in that moment when an actress or when a human being is crying, and allow your experience to what you're watching to move you or to not move you. If I'm watching actors who are bad actors, who are doing general acting the same way as Meghan does, and she produces one tear down her cheek, I don't care how many tears are real coming down her cheek. It could be one, it could be 10, it could be coming out of both eyes, it could be for 10 minutes, it could be for 5 minutes. I'm going to be watching her do the crying, and because it's not linked to something specific that's happening to her, that's making her cry, I'm not going to believe it. All you have to do is allow yourself as an audience member to say, am I being moved when this person is crying? You don't have to worry about the tears as being fake or real. It's not about the realism of the tear produced in the eyes and then falling down your cheek. It's about you as the person crying due to something that you're experiencing in the moment that is real for you. But since there's no real happening to Meghan ever, and if she manages to do the tears mechanically, no matter how real they are coming out of her eyes, there's no link to something real inside of her, because she won't allow herself to go there, because she's trying to erase her backstory. She's only showing parts of her backstory that are giving her the impression that she is a bigger than life character. She was always a bigger than life character from the very time that she was a little girl, when she wrote this letter as a small little activist to a commercial that was done about dish detergent, where they were only portraying women to do dishes, and she wrote this letter, and due to her letter and her activism, the commercial was changed. Another moment that has already been talked about for years, and they came to the conclusion that it had nothing to do with her letter. Nobody got to read the letter that she sent, but she keeps going with these scenarios that she has made believable for herself to give her that status of being something, because she doesn't seem to want to be in the truth of, I have never made it as an actress. I have never made that on my own to the platform that I wanted to be at. And I had to go to the second plan, which was find somebody who's going to take me there. And I happen to be so proud of myself for getting to Prince Harry. And now I have the platform, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm going to do everything that's in my power to be able to help people, because I know how hard it is not to have this platform. She doesn't do that. Who's Prince Harry? No, I don't know who Prince Harry is. There was an interview that was done with her. All of these things are coming to mind because I couldn't watch through the whole 3 episodes again and go moment by moment, so I'm going back and forth. But now another moment comes to me where she was interviewed before she met Prince Harry, and she was asked questions, what song do you like? And she says Nina Simone, Freedom, the Freedom song. And even the fact that she's always talking about freedom, liberty, expression, I'm free, I am free to do what I want, I'm not going to go and be tied down with the traditions of the historical family, I am a free artist, when she knows she's not. So she mentions freedom, liberty, freedom, liberty. That's the tune that she plays on her guitar. They even have a guitar. I don't know if anybody plays the guitar. And then the next question was, if you were to choose between the two princes at that time, I think this was an interview that was done in 2015, who would you choose, Prince William or Prince Harry? And she goes, well, I don't know. I don't know. Only the fact that she takes a moment to say, I don't know, shows that she's actually trying to portray that she is not interested, that she's not about any of them. She has nothing to do with who the royal family is. When that was also made real for all of us to understand that she was Googling Princess Diana from years before. She was obsessed with the royal family. She had in mind that she wanted to meet somebody of importance. So for her to say, I guess Prince Harry, I don't know, Prince Harry, I don't know. That's not true. And then going back to what I was saying, they have to have each other to continue this imaginary story that they want to create about themselves that's not based in reality. Prince Harry looks at her and says, "Oh my God, when was that done? Did you remember that?" That just shows me how little you knew. He's the only one that's believing her imagined scenario about everything that she says, because he needs to have himself an imagined scenario about himself, because that's the only scenario that will make them principal actors, principal characters in their lives. They didn't have that opportunity before due to the real circumstances of their background. So they have to believe in each other, and they have to believe in each other's lies to keep themselves grounded in this imagined fantasy-like scenario that they want us to believe. All of us as audience members are smart enough to say that's not happening. There's no truth to what you're saying, because there's too many missing gaps that nobody's challenging you to come up with to fill up. It doesn't work that way. An actor preparing for a character has bigger responsibilities that they have to admit to and to the reality that is before they go into the imagined circumstances. And here are two people who are wanting to distort reality and are distorting reality. They're just being given free, go ahead, do it. Bravo for those supporters of Meghan and Harry who are just so desperate themselves, maybe in their lives, and they need the same kind of made up scenario for their lives to be able to go on and not have to deal with the reality of life, which is sometimes great and sometimes really, really painful. But if you don't deal with the pain in a truthful way, but you're using pain as something that's going to get you audiences, it doesn't come out as being honest and real. Oh, yeah. So they call each other, she calls him H. I think the reason why she calls him H is because it has to do with the titles. Again, if you're so against the family, like the royal family, and you don't stand for anything that they stand for, why are you so concerned about being called the Duke and Duchess of Sussex? Give it up. The titles of HRH were taken away from my understanding. I don't know. I hope I'm not mistaken about this, but if I am, I'm sorry, because I don't know much about that. But I feel that there's another analysis, that's just my opinion, analysis into why she calls him H is because it's almost like the beginning of a title sounding HRH. So she still decides to call him H, as if to say, I don't care the reality of having that being taken away. To me, he's still H. It just gives like this grand sound of a title. One other thing that I've always wanted to comment on, which I don't think anybody has, and this is, again, due to the fact that I'm putting myself in the situation when I work as an actress and I have to give myself into the circumstances of the characters and I have to analyze the characters. Going back to what Elia Kazan always says about the definition of acting to be psychology transformed into behavior, I could not help but remembered in my life some years ago, I was dating this one guy and he was bald on top of his head, and then he only had hair on the side and on the back, and he had no beard. And because I wanted him to be everything that he potentially could be, which was not a good way of going into a relationship. I learned painfully not to do that anymore. But at that moment in my life, it was almost like I wanted him to be what I imagined him to be, so I can relate to the leaving the reality to the side. That's how I can look at these people and break down their behavior and their comportment because of the training that I had as an actress and as an acting coach. And then I allow my own experiences to confirm that, which is the analysis that I'm making on other people. So this guy I really liked him a lot, but when I first met him, I didn't like the fact that he was leaving his hair to grow on the sides and on the back when there was like baldness on top of it. And I also didn't like the fact, that's just my own preference, nothing to do, I'm not saying anything about anybody, but he didn't have any big lips. He had very thin lips. I was so wanting him to be the perfect guy after having so many relationships that I had and failed before. I wanted him to be the one. I wanted him to be the one. So I wanted to create him to be exactly what I wanted him to be. So what I did, I started saying, what would be really good and helpful in his physical appearance that's going to make him be the guy that I've always wanted to meet? What if he shaves? What if we go and we shave your remaining of the hair because you only have it left on certain parts of the head? Let's just shave that, go bald. And in order to cover the fact that he had no lips or very thin lips, why don't you leave facial hair? Why don't we try to see how you would look with a beard? That was even before the men were actually going for bald head and facial hair for beards. So many years ago, I don't even know, like 10 years ago. There was something wrong with me, and I wasn't accepting that there was something wrong with me in the way that I wanted this guy to be everything that he was not, knowing that he was not the things that I was wanting him to be, knowing that I was getting myself into a relationship that was going to fail again, but I didn't want to deal with that. I went to the controlling side of myself, the same way that I feel that Meghan is doing with Harry, in controlling him by always grabbing, moving him with the hand, putting it on his back. And another thing that I noticed was this with the facial hair. Have you guys ever seen him without a beard since he met Meghan? Because I haven't. And if you look at the pictures, even now, was more of a concrete. Coming back to me, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because this docuseries on Netflix, they show pictures from the moments before they met, before they were with each other. And there were so many moments and so many pictures where Prince Harry never had facial hair. He didn't have a beard. So I was thinking, I do not think that he was ever without a beard after he met Meghan. And I'm wondering if she was going through the same thing for her reasons in trying to make him look more as the person that she wants him to be appearance wise, because she got what she wanted from him, having to do with his family and where he comes from and the power that he has. So she got that. But then I don't know how much she was into those kind of men, or did she have to change his appearance to make him be the best that he could? Leaving the beard, making him a little bit older, because as a woman, I have the impression, and this is only my opinion, some women look older at the same age than men do. That's just my opinion. Again, it has nothing to do with everybody. If I'm looking at men who are around my own age, they look younger than I do. So I don't know if maybe that was one of the consideration that she had. She wanted him to look older because she's a couple of years older than he is. And he's now with the beard all the time. I've never seen him clean shaved since he was with her. That just reminded me of my own personal experience in the relationship, my teaching lesson from that relationship. Not try to change anybody, because the trying to change somebody into what you see him to be as the best version of themselves is not going to save the relationship. It was a horrible relationship. With these two, I think they're going to be able to stay together because they're the audience of each other, telling these fictional scenarios that are, even as fiction, are so badly told because they have no creativity. They have no way of telling them specifically with details because they do not possess any of that. The royal family has nothing to worry about. The fact that Kate and William were being portrayed, and she calls them Will and Kate, as if to show that she doesn't care about the titles and she doesn't care about the status of the family. She's already been the grand Meghan before she became part of this royal family. Only the fact that she brings them down and she calls them that is just like, oh, or the fact that she met him the first time, she didn't know what to do because she's a hugger. I'm a hugger. You're a woman of 40, Meghan. You would be able to assess, you would be able to read a room and understand this is a situation where you're meeting these people for the first time. If I were to meet any people, not even having to do with the royal family for the first time, why would you want to meet them barefoot? Like, sincerely, why would you want to do that? Or with ripped jeans, and you would want to hug them? You have to read the room. She thinks that her freedom of expression should be done at all times, whenever she wants to, because she doesn't make the difference between, there are different scenarios, there are different situations, there are details in the way that you go about doing this meeting for the first time in comparison to doing a meeting with another person that's been your friend for a long time. So for her to put out this story about the coldness of the British people and how it's jarring for the British people to have an American come and hug them, that's such a stupid statement, really, to be made by anybody. They don't want to be hugged. No, they don't want to be hugged. Of course not. They were probably reading the room, Kate and Prince William. Everything is unbelievable. It's just not credible. It's a comedy wannabe, but they don't have the talent, they don't have the creativity to have been able to pull that off. It's not a reality because they're never in a reality. All of the scenarios they are coming up with, they're not even imaginative because they don't even know how to create imaginary scenarios and have details that are going to be based in some reality. So everything falls apart. If Harry and Meghan were just Harry and Meghan, they would not have the show on Netflix. These are my observations of these two characters, characterless, Harry and Meghan, on the Netflix series. And I hope this analysis and breakdown from the actor's perspective, from the acting coach's perspective, will help you look at people and see how you can understand psychology and what it is to transform psychology into behavior. Therefore, I hope this will give you more of an insight into great acting versus bad acting. Thank you so much.